funny thing is with the X-29 is they got the same effect the F-15 has. If you ever look at an eagle, or I guess in that case a raptor, the wing camber and stuff changes at the tip, and yeah, I think it's quite a bit different airfoil out there, and we end up with tips that don't stall. So the aircraft is very controllable at low speed, and 29, because it's forward swept, has the same effect.
flying so low without a horizontal stab. Is he flying?
Yeah, this is true.
That helicopter in the back, I see.
Fucking movie.
Yeah.
I don't get it. How is he able to fly that well without a horizontal stab? Unbelievable.
He has horizontal stab.
No, he doesn't. He's missing one. He's missing his left horizontal stab.
Oh, on my screen, I see a big hole in there. Big hole. But
You don't. Look at my stream. That's not hit. That's missing.
I'll DM you a picture of it.
Yeah, DCS logo.
What's that?
You're getting DCS'd.
I think he is. Look at the pick I said. He's got a left stab. Barely, but, you know, there's something there.
Take a break.
Rip.
go ahead and despawn, we're doing it.
Could just 2v1 him as well. I'm fine with that. Yeah, he one circle and kept his knots. I got some hits on him, but ended up alone.
Recently,
He got 2 good snaps, hydraulics, and down. Big oof.
How's it going? The centerpiece is a head. It's a upfront controller and a HUD controller from a Hornet, made by W Controls. Oh, that really fucking good. What? Where'd he fucking go? So if you go to my Twitch About page, Johnny Black, and you click on the W Controls icon, that'll take you through to their web store. Let me know if you buy one.
Bingo fuel. Bingo fuel.
Yeah, I am. Yeah, it's really good. Finally got that centralization issue working. Headphones are nice.
He really lives up to his name, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't.
What was that?
Stop trying to wind me up, Sweeper. You know what you're doing.
I know exactly what I'm doing. Except in BFM, I don't know what I'm doing there.
Let me fight him again.
Yep.
You remember we used to have a rule in the clinic that it used to be first to land shots wins? Because it just like took away all the bullshit with the variations between the various flight models. I thought that was the best rule ever, like. But then you go in tournaments and it's like, you know, you have to destroy the guys. So.
I was like, snaps or 3-second track. Typically works better with bullet order craft though. But then you have to figure out, you know, get my bullets hit. Just a good way to do it.
How did they miss then? What the fuck?
I think you need a bit more risky.
What? How did they miss?
You need more risky, that's why you missed.
Where did they go though? They look like they hit me.
He was too far off when you shot, so the shots dragged behind.
I'm flying really badly tonight. It's not even that he's flying well, so I'm flying like trash. I can feel it.
It's not you, it's me.
It's true though. Flying like absolute garbage tonight.
I think it's just because he's the best. I am so getting banned tonight.
Get in, best.
I mean, with a call sign like Low Blow, you would expect him to be able to take it.
It's just
He has
a
to go
prank,
for
bro.
Get in, Sweeper. He has to go to the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna start punching dicks around here fairly soon. I can feel it. It's coming.
Excellent.
What the whiskey levels are rising.
And I'm in. Good news is I gotta go pretty soon, so you're in luck.
Hey, Mako. This is Sweeper. I'm fighting here. How are you, dude? Good to see ya. I'll warn you, I'm not flying very well tonight. See? Pilot kill. I'm in.
Yeah. Oh, yeah?
Huh?
For a second, I thought you just lost your temper.
No. This sub goal is not updating, so I'm just gonna get rid of it.
Holy shit, dude. You still have horizontal stabs after that?
Fucking hell. I'm like trash here. Save that.
Oh, I am so dog shit at this game.
Makes two of us. Here he comes. Oh, she's so unstable. Holy cow. I'm flying like fucking garbage.
I'm shooting like garbage, so it cancels out.
No, I can't win a fight tonight. So this is
Do you wanna-
pretty unusual.
Do you want a Romero boost? I can go against you, you can win one.
No,
Yeah,
no,
I
no.
gotta go eat dinner, so good fights.
No, good fight.
You playing in
Continue to
that tournament you're talking about?
Say again?
Are you taking part in that tournament you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, I'm gonna fight in it. Yeah.
Nice. Oh, good luck on that.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah,
Thanks
go
for
kill 'em all.
popping in and helping me with the stuff tonight. You know.
Oh yeah, dude. Anytime. See ya.
Unbelievable. Alright, you ready, Egg Ball?
I'll give it a go.
Alright. Range B, let's go.
You set up, so bear with.
I don't know what's wrong with me tonight. Flying like dog shit. I did one thing differently tonight. I had red wine before I had whiskey. Normally I just have whiskey. Maybe the tannins in the red wine are fucking me up. Fuck.
Yeah, good kill, man.
Alright, Best, you ready? Let's go. What are you taking? I'm gonna fight TB here, Egg Ball for one. We'll just rotate through. Brad, thank you for the nice comment, dude. Alchemist Brian, thank you for the follow there, dude. 18s? Yep, let's go 18s. That sounds good. Well, it's the wine that I had was an Argentinian Malbec, Trevento. I'm not feeling as sharp as I normally do. Good to make these mistakes before a big event tournament, not on the day of. Yeah, no worries, make anytime. him out. Okay, good fight. Yeah, I still got 270. Okay, egg boy, you ready? You there?
Yep.
Yeah, I'll take a Viper, range B. Ah. Good fight. Cheers. Best, you ready? Thank you. Hey Justin, how's it going, dude? Good to see you. Yep, that sounds good. But thank you, dude. You ready, Igbo?
Yeah, man.
Viper. So welcome if you're just joining, no matter where you are in the world. I'm in London. It's 23:27. Gonna be BFMing here for probably another couple of hours. We've got one, let's say, beginner to intermediate pilot here. That's Egbal in the Hornet, and we've got another, I'd say, advanced to fighter race level pilot, which is TB, the best. Having some good fights. Some mutual dick punching going on there. Alright, so happy place for rating the Viper, somewhere between 440 and 480. Back in the 2 circle here in the rate band for the Viper. Just trying to outrate this Hornet here. Yeah, no worries, just to come in. Tonight it's all about learning, just having some fun. We got the big BFM tournament happening on Sunday. I'll be co-commentating that with Guido, the ex-USAF F-15C pilot, and also competing in it as well. So. See me getting fast in the Viper here again to rate. He's going to be looking for some overshoot cues here, but no, he doesn't reverse. He just sticks at 2 circle. Hello, Winston. How are you, buddy? Good to see you. Yeah, did you sign up the best? Did you sign up for the tournament? Some strong French pilots in there as well. Just took his horizontal stab off there. Tier 1 sub for 5 months, thanks dude. That's awesome. How you going, buddy? He's not going to reverse. Oh, here comes the reversal. Holy shit, it's like he stopped in midair. Oh, there goes his I think he's departing.
That might be a bit too much paddle there.
Oh, that was crazy, dude. Nice. I remember when this was all on the stream. Oh, did you am I dominating tonight? No, I've been flying like...
I only just learned what the paddle actually does.
Pretty poorly tonight. Only just now am I starting to hit my stride a bit. Oh yeah, I got a new bottle of Bushmills today, so cheers to all of you guys. Let me just pour another glass here.
I need to learn the Hornet more.
Thank you so much for the 5 months there, you are kidding me. I really appreciate that, dude. Cheers. Cheers, so, guys.
In the merge, when we're coming up to I noticed you go burner for a little bit, and I'm assuming that's to get up to a certain speed. And then
thank you so much, dude. Thank you so much.
You're out the burner and pulling into the enemy. Is that because you've got a certain turn speed to get to hit before you start pulling to get your maximum turn rate?
Just say that to me one more time.
So if I watch you when you go into the merge, you're literally in burner, and then just before the merge, or a little bit back from the merge, probably about 1 mile out, you're out burner, and I'm assuming that's so you can get to a certain speed so that you can pull your, what is it, 6G turn at 400 knots on the Viper?
Yeah, well, max G, depending on what you're doing. Like, you know, if I see you 1 circle me, I may try to match you in the 1 circle, or I may reverse in a 2 circle and just go for rate at 440, so it's whatever G will keep me at 440. But you know, there's a lot of deception that goes into the merge, you know, like if I come into the merge banked into you, I may very well continue that bank, but I may also reverse, or I may take my airplane into a completely different patch of sky and go oblique vertical and go somewhere where you aren't expecting me to go, you know, because a lot of people lose sight right after the merge. It's very common. So, hello Maxa, how are you, buddy?
Yes, that's what's happened to me a lot. Is I'm literally losing sight on you right after the merge. Sometimes, not all the time. So that last one, I didn't. I tried to keep you on my vertical gravity. I always imagine like through the center of the aircraft a rod coming out and pointing at you, and I always try and keep that on you. So when I'm turning at the same rate. But
yeah. Oh, Penguin Irish whiskey is delicious, dude. You should try this Bushmills 10 as well. This is the second bottle I bought in about 2 or 3 weeks. I'm really enjoying it, and it's a good price in the UK as well. Okay, I'm gonna fight the best here now. I think Egg Ball. So TB, you ready? I'll take a Mirage. So, Egg Ball, if you want to just spectate from my jet and F5 and you can just watch what I do. And if you got any questions afterwards, just bring it up.
Hang on, which one are you?
I'm the one heading west.
Yeah, I got you.
Alright chat, I'm not going to talk on this fight, I'm just going to fight. Because these are pretty tough fights, I need to concentrate.
You're in one circle fight at the moment.
No, this is 2 circle, nose to tail. I'll explain it later. This is a rate war right now. Okay, still on that rate order. Oh fuck, nice. Good pull by him. Tags me there. Thought my speed was going to keep me safe there, but no joy. shut down. These are losing queues right now. Okay, so encourage the speed through. Tags me again. Fuck. It's doing well. She's not accelerating as well as she normally does. He's right there. Ah, I'm in. Good fight. I told you guys I wasn't flying very well, son. Alright, Egg Boy, ready? Ready, Egg Ball?
Come on.
Okay, what are you taking? Hornet?
18.
I'll take a Hornet as well. I was a bit too passive with my guns, the best on the first one. I should have defended better. Okay. Defense, I'd say. Make it really hard for the other guy to hit you. Who's the hunter and who is the hunted? That's the question. He's got lots of energy. More than I expected. Yeah, it's amazing. Whew. Stick save. Holy fuck, look how much energy he's got. Holy fuck. Oh, my fucking master arm was off. Oh my god. He was dead there. F for sure. Capital F, dude, not a little F. Holy fuck. Now I gotta work for another 10 minutes to get the same thing. Fucking 0 point staying in that with him, with how much energy he's got. Just get to 400 and recommit here. Here he comes. Right, exactly. Exactly, dude. You can make fun of me, I don't mind. I'm so dead here. I'm so dead here. Get out of this shit. Oh god. That's it, I'm out of gas. I don't know if he's out of gas though. Mommy. Good fight. You want to go for a fight, Eagle?
Yeah, sure.
Alright. You ran out of bullets? Oh my god, dude. I had my master arm off. And I had a perfect crossing shot. Here, I'll take a Viper again. Range B.
Where's one?
Oh god, dude. These are some good fights. You guys are working me tonight. Good fights, dude. Good fights.
please. Pull up. Pull up.
Across the range, especially if you want to compete, because you know you could go into a tournament and you could be great at fighting your mate. And then all of a sudden you get into a competition and fighting and that's an entirely different fight to fighting two of the, fighting FA teams or same, you practice fighting against the Mirage, you practice fighting against the League, you practice fighting against the JF17, against the Tom Cat, against the 29. It's about building up this entire figure in your head so that even before you merge with someone, you know exactly what type of fight to expect. And if you know something that you're not expecting, you know it's different from what they should be doing, and then you identify mistakes. It's like a good chess player is strong on that range, right? They have to be good at the same thing goes in this pattern recognition. You see things happening on the fly and you understand is this a green picture or is this a losing picture? And mentality is so important here. It's very psychological support because when you start to get better at it, you start to conceal the real intentions when you have your plans, particularly at the merge, but also other plans as well, in order to conceal what they're actually doing to do. I don't mean that cheating, I just mean flying. So they might come in with certain things that they certain mistakes. The best way would be to fight against someone who's advanced, and they'll quickly identify where your points. And let's run through how those categories work. So I classify a beginner as someone who perhaps doesn't understand or can't readily identify whether they're in a one-circle fight or a two-circle fight. They get overshot very easily. By overshot, I mean if I give you the offensive advantage in a fight, so you're the guy behind me, and I go defensive, and then you try to follow me down, and I'm able to flush you out in front of me, then that's a beginner mistake right there. Intermediate guys are still going to make that mistake as well, but then once you start getting into the more advanced levels, guys are going to make those overshoot mistakes less frequently. You're not going to be overshot, you're going to be able to have that offensive advantage and hang back there and what you do out in front. That's what I was trying to say is see before when I was doing the start of the session, theoretically, if you start here at 3,000 feet offensive, you shouldn't lose the fight 9 times out of 10. You shouldn't fight from 3,000 feet no matter what I do. And if you lose, there's the pitch you might not get what you say. So, there's certain things that certain mistakes that beginners can make. Another example of that might be you get into a scissors fight or you're in a roller fight. And when you get into those two types of fights, it's very fine series to play there to get considered. Like scissors fight. Okay, where say you are
downrange. What ends up happening is when this guy gets pointed up, this guy's lost the parachute out in front. This guy can roll over the top, and he's got a flushed out band in front of him that he can then kill. But it's not that simple because his leg over the top is pointing upwards for longer than this guy. So this guy has no speed, so he might get flushed out in front, and then if he can get out plane and pull up and out, he might go over the top of him, and then he might have an advantage. So, but it's all about identifying the type of fight that's developing and being able to capitalize on any mistakes that your opponent might make, and getting out ahead of your opponent in terms of your thinking, and making a decision early, and then forcing him to react to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, let's have some fights. There's another type of fight that develops, it's called a roller. And in a roller, it all comes down to lift vector placement. So if you imagine what the lift vector is, if you imagine a vertical spike coming out the top of my head, that's my lift vector, right? Except lift vector actually is generated at the center of pressure, or the point where the lift is generated on the airframe. But just imagine a spike coming out of your head, right? And the more time, generally the more time that you spend fighting the bandit with the lift vector, meaning, having your lift vector pointed at or in his vicinity, the more effective you're going to be. Except, as you advance the BFM, you'll learn that you don't always want to be pulling pure or lead on a guy. So by pure, I mean pointing directly at him. Lead is pointing out in front of him, and lag is pointing after him. And lag BFM, the more BFM you do, you realise the power of lag BFM. And that's where you should spend most of your time until you're ready to actually confidently pull for a shot and kill him. Because this action of going from lag to lead costs energy, and that energy, if you miss, could very well cost you a fight. So you need to be fairly confident of landing your shots, and the way you do that is you fly lag BFM until you get into the guy's control zone. So his control zone is a wedge behind him out to about 3,000 feet, and technically once you're in there, you shouldn't lose the fight at that point, because you've got the advantage of being inside the elbow, what's called the elbow. So if you imagine this is the bandit, my hand's the bandit, okay? And here's my elbow, and imagine my shoulder. Now, if this is us, we're the offensive guy, and we're on the shoulder here, okay? And this is the bandit. If we're out at the shoulder, can you see that the bandit can actually articulate back because the elbow moves? He's actually outside of this inside the elbow range, right? So but by contrast, if we're actually on the elbow, can you see that now we're fused to the bandit? Because my forearm is fusing me to him, and never can the hand now articulate, because my forearm is a fixed bone. So that's the benefit of being inside the elbow, inside the control zone, is you're effectively fused to the bandit at that point, and he can't articulate. He doesn't have enough turning room to get back around on you. Whereas if at the shoulder, he can. He's got enough room to turn back on me. And so the point there is that quite often you'll see in BFM that if I'm losing a fight, or if I identify losing cues, I'm going to run. I'm going to make an early decision to exit the fight. And the reason for that is because an early decision to separate from a bandit, particularly if he's nose high and slow, and you're now nose low, and you dump the nose and you run, you'll build up your energy to like 400 knots well before he can get to 400 knots. So he might still be back at like 150 or 200 knots pointing downwards, because he has to still totally reverse his aeroplane, get pointed downhill and pointed at you. Meanwhile, you were here so you pass each other, right? One going up, one going down, and you, instead of deciding to pitch up into a high guy who, let's be honest, at this point, if he's high on you, he's already pitching back over. He has the benefit of what we call God's G over the top, so he will be using gravity to assist him moving the nose back down at you, whereas if you decide to pitch back up at him, you're fighting gravity to get your nose up to him. So this is generally ill-advised, depending on what you're fighting against. So you might make another decision. You might say, okay, well, I'm going to take an exit window when he's going up and you're going down. You'll say, I'm going to take my exit window, I'm going to run. So you literally bunt your stick through center gate, through the center D10. You put negative G on, 0G or negative G even. And what that does is it unloads your wings of lift. And lift has a nasty byproduct called induced drag. And induced drag slows you down. And when you're trying to run for your life, you want to get rid of as much induced drag as you can. And the way you do that is you extinguish all lift on the wings by going to 0 or negative G. And then you get rid of your induced drag and you accelerate much quicker. And then you separate. And what are you trying to do when you separate? Well, you're actually trying to get the bandit from out here at the elbow out to the shoulder, so that then you can articulate back on him and neutralize all of those angles and get a neutral remerge with him, right? And that all stems back to that decision-making process of, am I winning this fight or am I losing this fight? And if I'm losing this fight, how do I turn it into a fight that I can win, or at least a fight that's neutral? And so that's the thought process you need to go through there. Right. Yeah. So escape windows are super important, and that's like something you're going to pick up once you get to intermediate advanced level in BFM. You're going to start thinking differently about how you fight the bandit. You're not going to start thinking in terms of how do I beat him within the next 15 seconds. You're going to think, how do I exit this fight that I'm probably going to lose in the next 15 seconds and get back to a fight that I might be able to actually win. And that happens to all of us. You see many guys fighting in the clinic and on these streams, and they may have already taken some damage. They may have taken some damage to the wing, or even lost a stab, or no matter what the damage, they'll keep fighting though. That's the point. They will stay in the fight because they know the fight's not over until the fight's actually over. And you may even be in a dead jet and spiraling down to earth, and you'll see some guys just go trigger down because they'll just catch the guy with some rounds sweeping while they're on their way down to earth and kill the guy. There's crazy shit that happens in BFM. So you should never assume that the fight's over. Just keep fighting. No worries. Thanks, Pin. Appreciate it. But tonight's all about learning, so if you guys have got any questions, just ask. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep talking. So, we talked about the roller, and a roller is where both aircraft are on this corkscrew that's moving downrange like this, and they're fighting each other with their lift vectors. But as they're fighting each other with their lift vectors, they're going around on this corkscrew, so one's ending up over the top at the same time as one is ending up underneath, right? And when you're in a corkscrew, it's really important to know where to put your lift vector and when to do the work in that sequence that's sort of that's playing out. And because ultimately, what you're trying to do in a corkscrew, if I put it this way, you're trying to get one guy to flush out in front, right? So what's important is that when you're on the bottom, you're building your energy. And then when you're up over the top, that's where you do the work. So when you're up over the top, something you'll see some guys do is they'll stay committed in the vertical for longer, and it's something I do as well. And they'll stay in burner, and they'll stay committed to the vertical, because when this guy is underneath trying to build his energy state, if he stays pointed down range for too long, he's naturally going to get flushed out in front in the corkscrew, or the roller, if that's what you want to call it, while you're pointed upwards. And then you have the luxury of being able to reverse over and come down on a very nice picture where this bandit's flushed out low in front of you, and you get a crossing shot, because he's going to try pitching up, and then because you stay committed to the vertical for longer, you basically hung up here and dropped an anchor in the desert floor, if that's how you want to think about it. He gets flushed out in front, and then you roll back and you put your pipper out in front, and you wait for him to come back up through here, and that's where you kill him.
but all the work in a roller is done up over the top, and then your job during the rest of the roller is to have accurate lift vector placement. So the spike coming out of your head, you want that pointed to the high 6 of the bandit. You never want to really, in a roller, put your lift vector out in front of the guy. Because if you put it out in front, it gives him the opportunity, or makes his job easier to put his lift vector to your high 6 and end up pulling up and behind you. So you want to be pulling for back here to make his life, if you can imagine it now, if you're pulling for back here, how hard is it for him to pull to back there? It's actually physically impossible. You know what I mean? But to the contrary, if you put your lift vector out in front of him, you've made his life extremely easy because he only has to come to about here in order to actually pull and get behind you. Or two, thank you for the follow. Big Sexy, thank you for the follow. Is that helping you guys? So if we go back now to the importance of the merge and the remerge. So if you think about BFM as a theoretical exercise, because how often on an open server are you actually going to have this artificial situation where you wait to pass a guy's 3-9 line before your fight's on? It's not going to happen, is it? There's going to be the way that dogfights unravel in real servers is it's basically a failed BVR engagement. So a lot has gone wrong during a beyond visual range engagement in order for you to become merged with someone, and you don't end up in a guns merge unless you've also fucked up the Fox 2. The Fox 2's flying both ways beforehand, right? So this is how it's going to happen. You're gonna see a guy at 60 miles. You're gonna close to 20 miles. You're gonna Fox 3 on him. Maybe you decide to banzai because it's your last Fox 3. Then at 5 miles, you're looking to Fox 2 him in the face. If he defends the Fox 2 in the face and you defend his Fox 2, and then you're both out of Fox 2s, then all of a sudden you end up in a guns merge. And that's what we practice here at the clinic, except we practice it as its own form of art. It's its own sport. Guns only merges. We do it for the sake of guns only merges because there's tournaments that are specifically targeted at that, right? So we've got this artificial set of rules that we impose on ourselves to make things as fair as possible at the point where the fight starts. So this situation that you get where a particular tournament might say, okay, level merge at 15,000 feet, no firing pre-merge, and then once past the 3-9 line, fights on. Okay, so that doesn't necessarily mean no pre-merge maneuvering in terms of lateral maneuvering, right? You can do that, but what you can't do is descend below the other guy pre-merge. And this is something you'll see in tournaments that either allow pre-merge maneuvering or servers that allow it, like Just Dogfight allows it. I think Mabetta Metas allows it. At the clinic, we say no pre-merge maneuvering unless prior agreement between the pilots. And what's the reason for that? Well, let me just turn this down a second here. Okay, what's the reason for saying no pre-merge maneuvering? Midorant 13, thank you for the follow there, dude. Well, what tends to happen, the whole point of pre-merge maneuvering, what you're actually trying to achieve is you're trying to get exclusive turning room prior to the merge. So the two jets are flying towards each other, and say this guy here decides to descend prior to the merge. What he's actually trying to do is hope that he can get far enough beneath the other guy so that he can start a lead turn up into him at the merge and generate angles prior to these two guys merging, right? And you can imagine if he gets all that work done just prior to the merge, now when they merge, if this guy did nothing, this guy's already got basically 90 degrees to him at the merge, and his job is so much easier because this guy is flying this way, and all he has to do to get offensive is complete the other 90 degrees, and he's offensive. So that's the whole point of pre-merge maneuvering. Guys are trying to get below and get some angles, even if it's not 90 degrees. Even say if you got 100 feet of turning room at the merge by getting underneath a guy by 30 meters, say, 30 meters, roughly 100 feet, and you are able to convert that into
this much of a lead turn and that many angles. Well, that's still 20-30 degrees. I mean, that's 45 there, say. So, you could get 20-30 degrees. And there's a saying in BFM, the angles that you lose at the merge are going to haunt you for the rest of the fight. And that is very, very true. So what you get is guys who practice guns only BFM a lot will say, okay, well, we're going to I'm not going to give you that pre-merge maneuvering, so I'm coming down with you. And they'll come down from 15,000 feet, and then it becomes this tit for tat all the way down until the guys are both on the deck, merging on the deck at, whatever it is, 450, 500 knots sort of thing. And it becomes kind of stale after a while when you say, okay, well, pre-merge maneuvering allowed, and every single time you're ending up merging on the deck, because once the deck's there, the deck really limits the fight in terms of what those two guys can do, because there's no cutting across the bottom of the circle to use that airspace underneath the fight to generate geometry advantages in the fight, right? Whereas when you're up at 15,000 feet, if you're across the circle from a guy and you're level with him, you've got the ability, I should say, to overbank and pull down through the circle and cut a slice off the lemon. If you imagine looking at a lemon from the top, right, and you cut a wedge off the lemon, like when you go to a fancy restaurant and they cut a wedge of lemon off and they put it on your plate or whatever, it's like that. If you cut that wedge of the lemon off, you're cutting across the circle, you're basically cutting the corner, and you're getting inside the guy by using geometry. Right? And you'll see Mirage guys do it a lot, Hornet guys do it a lot, some F-15 guys do it, where what they're trying to do is they'll get in and they'll sit here underneath, and then it's called the pocket. We call it the pocket at the clinic. So 4 o'clock low, or if it's in a left-hand 2-circle fight, 8 o'clock low. And because you're on the inside of his circle, you don't need to be as fast as him. So you may be lower energy, but you're actually able to just stay with him because you're inside the circle. You use geometry to your advantage. So, but you don't have that ability in a fight that starts on the deck. The only ability to cut across the circle is actually through the top of the circle in the vertical. And unless you're very experienced at BFM, it's an extremely dangerous thing to do, to cut through the vertical, or across the top of the circle to meet a guy, because if you misjudge his energy state, he's going to pitch up into you with vengeance. And if you weren't able to get the nose on in time, he's now coming up at you, and he's got energy, and he's going to pull up into you for a shot and potentially gun you high aspect or in the face before you can get nose on. So that's where exposure to BFM and being able to judge an opponent's energy state is super important. It gets to a point where, that thing I was talking about before with induced drag and unloading the wings and being able to accelerate, that's so important, because 10, 20, 30 knots can make all the difference in BFM as you progress, right? And so that's why you'll see a lot of guys when they fly BFM, and me included, it's not always smooth. It's not always smooth turns. There's a lot of this going on. There's a lot of bunting going on. Just unload those wings, break the AOA, get the airspeed back on the jet, and not only does it help you to get extra knots for when you might need them, right? Because how many times have you watched this stream and you see two of us in Mirages or whatever, and we're hanging up like this, and this guy ends up just falling off, right? And now this guy's coming over the top, and now he's got this guy's tail. He's offensive, and all that maybe was the difference was 20 knots. So that bunting technique can really make the difference with that. I remember when Hornet came out, nobody knew how to fly it, so everyone on dogfight servers just trying decorating. Yeah. Or once you've engaged in a merge and you're close to your opponent, do you find yourself working the throttle a lot? Absolutely. And one of the beauties of going to different BFM communities and fighting pilots from different countries, like for example, I went and flew in a French BFM tournament a few weeks ago and got to fight some of the French guys, and some of the techniques that they're employing over there are very, very different to what we employ here. And I actually had a guy, Sakir actually, who runs the Francophone Discord with about 800 French pilots in it. We were in the final together, and we had some really good fights. So I ended up getting lucky and beating him, won the French tournament, and then he came to the clinic and we had some more fights. And what we had was we got into this fight in a Mirage where we were both up in the vertical, and I started up beneath him, and my mentality when I get up into the vertical with the guy is stay in full AB, because I need as much energy as I can for when we get slow. Well, you know what Sakia did? Put his fucking air brake out while he's in the climb with me, right? So he comes out of Afterburner, puts his air brake out, and flushes me out in front in the vertical because I stay in blower, and the cheeky bastard got a snapshot off on me, and I think he hit me too, right? So I've never seen a guy do that, commit to the vertical with me, and then go idle boards, or it might not have been idle, but it was definitely out of the Afterburner and boards, and flush me out in front in the vertical to get a snapshot. It was fucking insane. I noticed Eastern pilots more on the angles. Oh, Eastern pilots more on the angles. US on the right. Right, so that brings me to a good point. The Best has raised a really good point there, and you actually saw a fight tonight between the Best and I where we were in Mirages, and Best exercised some really good patience and kept his energy state quite high. And you know, there are certain fighters like the F-16 where that's the fight that you have to fight, because if you get too aggressive and you bleed too much, the nose stops moving once you get slow in a Viper below 200 knots, you know, relative to some other airframes in DCS like the Hornet, the Mirage, the Eagle even, JF-17. Basically, at slow speed, the Viper can't compete very effectively. And so you have to stay committed to this mindset of continuing to exercise a rate war, a rate game plan, a two-circle game plan against those guys, and you wear them down. You get your angles just by sticking to that rate plan, right? But that said, you will get creative Viper pilots who will try and generate advantages and set up little traps for you where they'll try and flush you out nose low in the vertical, right? Meaning they'll set up a situation where they end up, like, I'll just give you the end of the picture so you understand what's actually happening. But they'll end up in a situation where they see a high fast guy and they say, come and get me, and they start heading nose low like this, but they actually go idle boards and start their pull with this guy coming down at like 400 knots. And even if in some situations this can work against Hornets and Mirages where this guy's not prepared for it because this guy's in a Viper, and they can actually flush this guy out low by getting a good hard pull and an early bleed through the vertical one circle nose low. I do think practicing BFM, guns only BFM you mean, is more useful now? Yeah. And on that point, practicing guns only BFM in stuff like Sabres and F5s is really good to do as well. Even if your end mindset is to only fly Gen 4 and open servers, I would recommend going and buying modules when they're on sale, like the F5, the F86, even BFMing in the Harrier, for Christ's sake. If that's the module you own, it's a very good dogfighter. But in particular, the Cold War stuff, the Korean era stuff, it's going to teach you how to be disciplined with energy management, because if you screw up your energy management, you will get absolutely punished. It also teaches you how to get good with guns, because there's a lot of times in BFM, even in jets that have a reliable pipper, like in the F-15 and the Hornet, they have a very, very reliable radar pipper, right? The F-16 I'd put on a tier below that, and then I'd put the Mirage on a tier below that, because the Mirage gun sight, the Snake's very, very difficult to use because it's a historical gun sight. So it's actually, what it's telling you is where is a round already fired going to land, not where is a round that is yet to be fired going to land. So Mirage gun sight's very difficult to use, and Mirage pilots, if that's the jet that they main, if that's the way you want to put it, if that's their main ride, they will get very good at using the force and just learning by feel what the fall off of those 30mm rounds is going to be and how much they need to lead at certain ranges in order for those big 30mm rounds to connect. And on top of that, you've got the fact that a Mirage is very much an angles fighter, so he's always trying to get inside the other guy and meet him on the other side of the circle, right? So instead of a Mirage actually trying to get into a guy's control zone and fly control zone around like this, a Mirage is going to cut across the bottom of the circle and wait for you over here and wait for you to come around, and then he's going to put rounds through the top of your airplane when you cross over. Anyway, I digress. The point is, Cold War stuff gets you better at those skills. It gets you better at high aspect shots and judging round fall off and distances. It's basically World War II gunnery, if that's the way you want to put it. DACT is dissimilar air combat training. So if you're in a Hornet versus a Hornet, that's similar air combat training. DACT is flying anything that's not the airframe that you're in. So, going back, flying the old stuff's really good, and then when you come back to the new stuff, the benefit of a place like the clinic, there's a link, is that you can fight all manner of different aircraft. Lately, for example, we've had an influx of really good flanker pilots, and the flanker is mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling what that airplane can do. You can be in a fight with a flanker, and if it's the first time you've ever BFM'd against a flanker and you've gotten really good at dogfighting against Hornets, against Vipers, against JS-17s, against other Mirage 2000s, you'll be in a certain situation in a flanker where you're like, there's no way he can get his nose on and shoot me, and he will. He'll just fucking stand it on its tail, like you're coming down this way, and you're in a position where you think there's no way when he's coming up through the bottom here, with the amount of energy I've got and how fast I'm moving across his flight path here, that he's going to be able to get his nose up and lead me and shoot me. And that may be true for a Hornet or a Mirage 2000, right? But this flanker has the S-paddle, and he can just pop his tail up, or I should say pop his tail down, and get that nose up in front of you and shoot you with those big 30mm rounds and wreck your day. And the only way you get good at that is by fighting flankers. You know, in the same way that, you know, learning, or I recently learned how much power the flanker has in the vertical. So in a slow vertical fight, the flanker has massive engines, so it can just stand it on the cans. And whereas if you were in a Mirage versus Mirage fight, or even a Mirage versus Hornet fight, you'd be able to judge your energy state versus the other guy and say, I'm going to get up over the top of this guy. That's not going to work with a flanker. Likewise, if you're in a Mirage and you're up here and you look behind you and there's a flanker down here, well, if it was a Mirage or a Hornet, you could say, well, I'm going to just get out of plane here, and he's not going to have the energy to catch me or to come up to my level. If this is a flanker and you're looking back at him, you better believe that you're in a lot of trouble, because he has the thrust to wait to claw his way up and past you and get over the top. And when you're already slow up here, and all of a sudden you see this big fucking airplane power up past you and get up over the top, and you don't have the energy to move your nose to shoot him, you're in a really bad way at that point, because now you have to exit that fight. You can't exit it vertically, you have to exit it nose low. Meanwhile, he's already pulling over the top, he gets your tail, and he's accelerating nearly as quickly as you, and putting rounds down range at you. It's a bad day. So on the topic of DCS, hang on, I think there was another question. Or2 said, I know this could get very complicated, but in layman's terms, what are the most common reasons for starting the merge in a 2-circle versus a 1-circle? Okay.
let's say that you're in a fighter that typically one circles very well. So which fighters are they in DCS? The F-18, the Mirage 2000, the JF-17, and also the F-15, believe it or not, one circles very well. So those 4 jets, I would say, are the ones to watch out for. The F-16 definitely does not one circle very well. It's definitely a 2-circle fighter. Flanker, sorry. Also, let me. Always forget the Russian stuff. But the flanker and the MiG-29 are also very good at one circle. But one circle at the merge is really a Fox 2 consideration, because when we say commit to one circle, what we're really saying is bleed all of your energy and go for a minimum radius pull, which means, you know, get that speed back to as low as you possibly can and get that jet turned around as quickly as you can within the minimum radius on the Earth's surface, so that you can get a Fox 2 off the rail and kill the other guy before he gets his nose pointed at you and kills you. Or if it's high off boresight shot, you know, get your high off boresight shot off the rail at him before he gets his off. But quite often what's going to happen is the travel time of your missile is your missile's going to be in the air, and then you've got a Hobbs shot coming back at you like an R-73 while your 9X is in the air, and both of you guys die mutual destruction style. So that's like, you know, thrust vectoring missiles, Fox 2s, you know, there's going to be a lot of this mutual destruction. But when we talk about one circling at the merge in a guns only merge, if you legitimately one circled a guy at the merge and bled everything and went for a minimum radius Fox 2 style one circle off the merge, effectively what you're doing is you're putting yourself in a really bad situation if you miss your shot, because you're completely out of energy. If that guy decided to keep his energy up around, say, 400, and he's seen you, okay, we merge, right? And what one circle is we both go west, or we both go east. So we both turn in the same direction, because what happens is when we both turn in the same direction, if you were to look at that from God's eye view down, that draws one circle. You see that? From top down, we pass each other, we both turn this direction. When we meet nose to nose, I've made one circle. Well, we made one circle. And it's a nose to nose fight min radius. If you decide to one circle a guy at the merge and you pull for everything you've got and you get that aircraft turned around within like 1,000 feet diameter, but he's also come one circle with you, but he's kept his energy at 400 knots, okay, and then he decides to take that energy upwards, you have no response to that, because you've bled everything at the merge for that really hard Fox 2 style pull, right? And then he takes his 400 knots up, and guess what he does? He rates over the top in the vertical, so he literally flies a circle around you in the sky and comes around onto your tail and shoots you. Meanwhile, you're like dumping your nose to try and get your energy back and get away from him. So one circling a guy, like, I mean, pure one circle Fox 2 style, the merge, is really ill-advised. Does that mean you shouldn't get good at one circle? Absolutely not, because as the fight progresses, you will get slow. And knowing how to fly a good one circle and knowing how to transition from a 2-circle fight into a 1-circle fight, and how to transition properly into a flat sizzle, or identify that you're now in a roller, you know, as the fights get slower, unless you separate from the fight, dump the nose, exit that fight and run, you have to know how to fight well at slow speeds. And so one circle is a big part of that. When to pull, when not to pull, you know, when to conserve just enough energy, because you know that you want to get up over the top and commit to this vertical with 30 more knots than he has, and if he tries to follow you up and he misses a shot, you end up offensive. Or that extra 30 knots gets you the ability to pull back down on him with just a little bit more bite than what you would have been able to if you were 30 knots slower. You know what I mean? So and all of that comes with familiarity with the airframe that you're fighting in and the airframe that you're fighting against, because knowing what his capabilities are and how much pull he's likely to have at a certain point in the fight is really important. And that's why
in Guns Only BFM, you know, when you come to a clinic like the server, we actually have really strict rules about who can do what and when with regards to paddle, AOA overrides, elastic overrides, like in the Mirage, for example, because those things make a huge difference to the way the fight unfolds. If you say to a guy, okay, I'm going to come into this merge in a Hornet, I'm not going to pull the paddle, and then all of a sudden you pull the paddle, he's expecting a Hornet that's maximum, that's G limited at 7.5 G, and may go a little bit over. But if you pull the paddle, you can get up to 11G, 12G in some instances. That completely changes the dynamics of that fight. Likewise, if you use the spin override in the Hornet, which basically allows you to use your Hornet as if it's an SU-27 and perform almost like a Cobra maneuver. I'm not sure whether the spin override's actually supposed to have that intent, but in DCS it does. And what it can give you is a really high pitch rate and a lot of extra alpha in certain situations, so that, you know, the guy's here and he's like, this Hornet doesn't have the ability to get its nose up to me. If he's coming out of this at like 200 knots, he doesn't have the ability to get his nose up. Guess what? Guy hits spin override, boof, stands his Hornet on its tail and guns you straight in the cockpit. That's a thing in DCS. So those rules about, you know, there's a base set of rules, and then we say unless agreed otherwise by the two pilots pre-merge. So the guys are coming into the merge and they know exactly what to expect in that particular fight. And I think that's a big thing, you know, like guys coming from other sims or flying games like Ace Combat, War Thunder, you know, even older style flight sims. When you come to DCS, these jets, or some of these jets, are modeled to such an extent that they've got all this extra functionality that lies dormant until it's activated. And in Guns Only BFM, where some of these fights, especially as you progress in your skill level of BFM and you're competing against other pilots who have been doing this for a long time, the margins between who wins and who loses become so fine that literally 10-20 knots can make a difference. So you can imagine if all of a sudden you're now able to pull an extra 4 or 5 G with your airplane by pulling a switch, it's going to have a huge effect on how that fight plays out. That's why those rules are there. Johnny Blood, thank you for the follow, dude. Welcome to the channel. I'm going to go back and read a few comments here, just catch up on chat. So does that answer your question or two with regards to 2 circle and 1 circle? Generally, I would say early post-merge, it's a good idea to keep your energy high in Guns Only BFM, because speed equals options until you at least feel out how the other guy's flying his aeroplane. And this is actually a really good point that's worth making. A really nice mentality to have in BFM is fight the machine, not the man. What do we mean by that? That's something I heard from someone else a little while ago. It means no matter who's in the cockpit, he can only make the machine do what the machine can do. So it removes all the psychology out of the fight. It almost it's that mentality of merging, and at the merge you say, today I'm merging with an F-15. I'm merging with an F-18 that's not pulling the paddle. I'm merging with a Mirage that's not using elastic override. I'm merging with a Mirage that is using elastic override. If that's the mentality you've got that you go into the merge, it takes out this psychology of, is this guy on his game? Oh shit, it's Low Blow I'm merging against. You know, all that's irrelevant. Low Blow's flying a Mirage, and a Mirage can only do what a Mirage can do. That's it. That's the way you need to think about it. So generally, keeping your airspeed high post-merge gives you options and conceals your intentions as well. And I've spoken at length about the benefit of a low to high remerge, because there's this meta in DCS in BFM on Guns Only BFM servers and in Guns Only BFM tournaments, where guys like to try and get a head-on shot at the merge. So they try and end the fight as quickly as possible, and you can't be mad at them for wanting to do that, because what they're effectively doing, it makes perfect sense for being on an open server where there's Fox 3s and Fox 2s. You don't want to be tied up dogfighting a guy, guns only, for any longer than you have to. And so this mentality of doing guns only BFM for the sake of doing guns only BFM, or, you know, prolonging a fight, or you know, doing it for the art of it, it's all bullshit. You want to kill the guy as fast as you possibly can, because if there's another free fighter, his buddy, floating around, waiting for you to get tangled up, and then he identifies who's who in the zoo, he just comes in and taps you, right? Because you're totally tied up with all of your knots fighting this one guy. And we did this interesting exercise at the BFM clinic some months ago called Pilot X versus the World. And what it was a competition format where you had 2 guys on one team with guns only, and on the other team you had a bandit who was carrying 1 Fox 2. And the 2 guys, the ACM guys who started with guns, started in the middle of a 5-mile circle, and Pilot X could choose wherever he wanted to spawn on any one of 4 cardinal headings. Remembering he's got Fox 2s, right? So these 2 guys are in the middle. They spawn in, and all of a sudden a bandit pops up. They don't know from where initially, and if he kept his radar off, or got his radar off before it pinged them, he could pop up from anywhere with a Fox 2, and then these guys have to, 1, defend the Fox 2, and then work out a game plan to kill him. So, you know, a laser, or taser shots, thank you for the follow there. Sneaky Prawn, thank you for the follow. So, what I'm trying to say is that keeping your energy high gives you options, right? If the 2 guys in the middle are slow, they're going to have a lot more problem defending against a Fox 2. Likewise, getting back to the point about getting a guy trying to get nose on, trying to get Pipper on right after a merge and gun you early on in the fight, that's become almost like in fact, I'm just going to say it's become meta in Guns Only BFM on open servers when you're fighting against people who maybe aren't in the same community as us, because they want to end the fight quickly. Now, if you bleed too much, you stop moving across their HUD. You stop moving across their canopy, so you become an easier target, right? If you've got 400, 500 knots, their ability to shoot you is reduced. Now, let's talk about the way that merges can unfold, and this comes back to Or2's really good question about 1 circle, 2 circles. So French guys really love to go pure vertical at the merge, right? So you see them come into a guns only merge and they go pure vertical, and in my opinion there's a couple of reasons for it. 1, in DCS, losing sight is a real risk, because particularly at the times of day where you typically fight Guns Only BFM on Guns Only BFM servers, the dark blue sky makes it very easy to lose a guy up against it. Also, if you think about it, when you merge with a guy, right, and your merge game plan is roll left and pull, yeah? And the guy you just merged with went pure vertical, okay? The propensity to actually lose sight of him is quite high, especially for track IR users, because what the French guys are doing is they're putting themselves in a position where track IR effectively stops, you know, because you've got this, you've got the point behind your head, maybe out to 90, 100 degrees, maybe even 110. But once you get there, you lock off. You can't look further behind you anymore, and that's not a limitation with VR. So, the other thing I want to say on that point is, when a guy goes pure vertical at the merge, why is he doing it? Okay, well, we talked about the losing sight thing. That's one of his objectives, is to get you to lose sight. In reality, and this is from talking with guys who flew this stuff for real, going vertical at the merge, if there's Fox 2s involved, is generally a bad idea, because what you're doing is you're putting your aeroplane up against cold blue sky and making yourself an easy target for a heat-seeking missile. But in a guns-only merge, that's not a risk. So by going pure vertical at the merge, what they end up doing is they end up getting the assistance of God's G, we call it God's G. They end up getting the assistance of gravity to move their nose back down at the other guy to then lead him for a shot and maybe get an early kill with a crossing shot like this. So how do you deal with that situation? Well, if you're the guy that went level at the merge, and you fight a guy who's gone pure vertical, your game plan is to keep your energy high and enter this low to high remerge at a crossing angle that makes it really hard for him, with a lot of speed. Because remember I said, if you carry a lot of speed, you move through his kill zone, his little funnel trap, if that's what you want to call it, or pippa trap, because you got to imagine he's coming up over the top and he's looking at your trajectory and he's saying, I reckon I'm going to kill him about there. And so he waits with his nose. Well, he comes from over the top, right? So he waits. He's waiting here with the nose while you come up and fly through his flight path, so he can gun you through the top of your airplane. The faster you fly through that pippa, the more survivable you are. So the more energy you carry up into this oblique vertical, the better your chances of surviving. You know? Now he's done a big hard pull over the top into the vertical, pure vertical at the merge. He's come over here. He's waiting to kill you when you fly up through, and you see it. You see him waiting for you here, and so you fly, and then right at the last second, you roll and you pull out a plane, and you do a guns jink, and you fuck up his guns shot, and you survive. But now the added benefit is because you brought so much energy into that oblique vertical, you have the luxury of now being able to effectively pirouette over the top on this guy, who's out of knots, right? Because he went for this big hard vertical pull, and he can't really follow you up. He doesn't have the energy follow up, so we end up in a situation where you come down over the top again. Risherol, thank you for the follow, dude. Does that kind of answer that? Now, there's other types of merges that play out, and let's talk about a pure two-circle merge. But instead of talking about a merge that happens two-circle level, let's talk about an oblique vertical merge, because that's also becoming meta. Is where you see a guy. I've got a little Mirage over here. I'll grab it. Let's make things a little bit better. Hang on a second. Okay, so I'm about to merge with you. I'm in the Mirage, and instead of going pure vertical, or instead of rolling to 90 and pulling into a level 2 circle, remember, level 2 circles where when we merge, I go west and you go east. And if you imagine drawing that out, I've gone west, I've drawn a circle this way, and you've gone east and you've drawn a circle that way. If you're looking down on that from God's eye view, down on that, that's two circles. You've got a figure eight, yeah? And that's a rate war, because what happens is as those circles resolve, we end up nose to tail, and the guy who can fly around the circle faster, i.e. exert better rate, wins. And so that's where understanding that, like, for example, if you're in a Mirage, you're not in a rate fighter, so if you're fighting against a Viper, a Hornet, or an F-15, you don't want to be stuck in a fight that's nose to tail, i.e. rate war, i.e. two circle, for any longer than you have to be. So even if like you were here against an F-15, right, and you identify, okay, this is a rate war, I don't want to be in a rate war with the Viper, what do? You roll wings level, you bump the nose, and you exit the fight. Okay. Meanwhile, he has to get fully turned around in order to pursue you. Now you've got a bucket load of energy, and you can make a good hard recommit. Remember what I said about the elbow? So you actually want to, by making that decision to exit early, you get beyond the elbow out to the shoulder, and then you articulate back on him and get back into a neutral remerge with him. So that's where understanding the jet that you're in and understanding the jet that he's in makes all the difference. So let's talk about the merge again here then. When you go oblique vertical at the merge instead of pure vertical, you're actually keeping some flexibility in the fight for yourself, I mean. Because you get, let's talk about these in dot point. So you're taking your aircraft upwards. So remember what I said about dark blue sky? You get the benefit of putting yourself in a similar patch of sky, a similar region to a guy who goes pure vertical. Maybe not as quickly, but also you're less predictable. Particularly if you merge with a guy. Now, remember when I said, I don't know if I have said it since there's been quite a few people here, but when when you merge with a guy, the propensity to lose sight, that's the highest in the fight, is right there. Because a lot of guys, when they merge, particularly if they're not experienced at BFM, they won't look over their shoulder. So when I come into a merge, sometimes what you'll see me do is maybe get offset like this. If I'm really amped for a fight, I'll offset my shoulders at 45 degrees to the merge, so that when I merge with him, getting into this position to watch him post-merge is really easy for me. Whereas imagine if I'm sat in my seat, shoulders square off on the HUD like this. I can't do this. I can't look behind me, right? Like literally my field of vision, especially in VR where my field of vision is maybe 60 degrees, 62 degrees, something like that. I'm basically fighting through like a coffee cup, right? And everything around it's black. As soon as I merge with him, if this is the position I've adopted, there's no way I'm going to see him. So if it was a smart guy and he came into the merge, right? Again, I'm going to do this pointing at you guys. You're coming in. You're about to merge with me, and I'm coming in, and I'm flying at you like this on a knife edge, right? It's easy for you to think, okay, he's going to just do this at the merge. He's gonna. Let's say that's west over there. He's going to pull west level 2 circle at the merge, right? But what happens if he doesn't, right? He's merging with a guy who's flying at home and his shoulders are square like this. He's in track IR or he's in VR. It doesn't matter, because it's physically impossible to watch a guy after the merge if this is the position you've adopted. That's why you see when I fly BFM, I basically live here. If I'm across a circle from a guy, I'm squared off like this so I can look behind me and I don't hurt my neck. You know, I don't feel uncomfortable, and I'm able to look where I need to keep him padlocked. So, why is that so important? The reason is because a lot of guys will actually change their direction in the merge. So they'll come in and they'll advertise a particular intention. They'll be like this, or they'll be straight and level, and you're expecting maybe this. But they'll come in like this, and then they'll pass you, and then they'll immediately roll to 45 degrees to the right, and they'll pull into the oblique vertical, and they'll go into a completely different patch of sky to where you were thinking they were going to go. And the only way you're going to be able to maintain sight in the fight is if you had them padlocked post-merge, which is what I just spoke about, right? So that's really important, because a lot of guys will deliberately try to deceive you with what their intentions are post-merge by the attitude they come into the merge at. So then let's talk about the other benefits of the oblique vertical. So oblique vertical takes you to a similar patch of sky as a guy in pure vertical, but it also allows you to retain your energy better compared to a guy who goes pure vertical. So if a guy comes in at 500 knots and goes pure vertical, he's going to be bleeding faster because he's fighting gravity harder, right? Whereas oblique vertical, there's still a component of tracking across the horizon as well as going up. So there's an upward vector and there's also a sidewards vector, and that allows you to retain your energy better. And remember, I said that retaining energy allows you to have more options. Death Dealer 1960, thank you for the follow, dude. So that's the second thing. One, propensity for the other guy to lose sight is higher because you're going to a darker patch of sky and you're going above him, so it makes it harder for particularly track IR users to keep track of you, keep you padlocked, and it retains energy better. It also masks your intentions in the fight to some extent, and I talk a lot about this thing called a low to high remerge. So let's start with the second part of that phrase, the remerge. What's the remerge? Well, we've got the merge, right? And then when we end up flying around and coming back at each other and passing each other for a second time, that's the remerge. So a lot of guys might have a plan for the merge itself, but they don't have a plan for the remerge. They don't actually know what they want that fight to look like when they end up merging with the guy again. And the people who are more experienced in BFM, who have done it many, many times, will have an idea about what they want that remerge to look like, and they'll engineer a particular type of fight depending on the fighter they're in. Now, with me, for example, this is all out there in my VODs. There's no mystery to any of this. What I try to do is I like to go oblique vertical at the merge, and if I see the guy get above me, I'm happy. Because what I want to do is I want to have him coming down at me trying to gun me while my energy state's high and I'm beneath him. So what I'll actually do is I'll initially go oblique vertical, okay, and then I'll overbank past the horizon. I'll bring my aircraft back down through the horizon and then track level beneath the guy who's trying to come down and gun me. I'm actually setting a trap, and the trap is, remember I said about a guy who goes pure vertical and lets a pipper trap out in front, right? He is committing to a gunshot. He's flying his airplane in a way that he's throwing all of his eggs into one basket, in the sense that he doesn't have much of a continuation plan beyond actually killing me. So his plan is, okay, this guy, me, is now flying quite predictably beneath me. I'm going to line up a shot here, and it's really hard for certain guys to not take it. In fact, a lot of guys will just fly for that shot and line it up and take it. Meanwhile, you're like going predictable, and then all of a sudden you go unpredictable, and your energy state's high. Remember I said keep the energy high. So 500 knots or 550 knots when you're coming around here, and the guy's trying to line up a very low probability shot, you pull back up oblique vertical, and then when he misses his shot, which it's such a low PK shot that they always usually miss it, usually. It kind of makes no sense, but they most often miss it. Now you end up over the top, and if you're in a fighter like a Mirage or a Hornet, you have this insane ability to bleed your speed and generate all of these angles very, very quickly and get pointed at him, right? And remember what I said about the guy not having a continuation plan. He's going to be fighting gravity to move that nose as he's coming down. So he's pitching through the vertical, right? And as he's trying to line you up, typically he's accelerating as well, right? Meanwhile, you're coming across this way at 500 knots, and he has a very, very small window to hit you, which is going to be exacerbated by the fact that you're not actually going to fly through there, unless you're stupid. You'll go out of plane. Or you'll pitch up oblique vertical and you'll get out of his way, and you carry all that airspeed up over the top, and now he misses his shot, comes down through the vertical, and is trying to fight gravity to get back up at you into a 2 circle. Meanwhile, you got up over the top, and this was your game plan all along, bleed and be pointed at him, and now he's pitching up and you're tracking him for the shot. Make sense? So that's the benefit of a remerge plan, is you're basically trying to engineer a trap for the guy. Anyway, let's fly some BFM. Enough talking. Yeah, I need some of those fighter briefing sticks. Yeah. Who's here? Anybody want to fight? Hey, boy. Alright, let's take a... Winston's here as well. Let's take a... I'm going to take a Viper against you. Range B, yeah? I'll take red. Okay, here we go. Briefing fly. So Viper's a rate fighter. Doesn't like to get slow, but you can surprise guys with getting slow. What should we listen to? Some angry music? It's my... This isn't angry, I'll put the angry music on later. I've got to merge with this guy here. Yeah, Tomcat? No, that's a flanker, was it? Okay, so this is the oblique vertical I was talking about. They seem to keep my energy pretty high here. Now he's bleeding, right? Sorry, dude, what'd you say? What do you mean? Oh shit. Thanks. Hang on. Can we, just give me a second. Forgot about you guys, sorry. Let's take the fight again.
Altitude. Altitude. Pull up. Pull up.
Not a bleed vertical though. What about Bob? Anyone? Thanks for the follow, dude. Alright, it helps if you guys can actually see the fucking game. Okay, here we go. That's hilarious. I told you there was a downside to drinking whiskey.
There's never a downside to drinking whiskey. Come on.
Okay, so oblique vertical at the merge with 500 knots. Exactly what I was just talking about. Padlock him. He's gone pure vertical at the merge. I'm going to get underneath this. So this is where I overbank past the horizon. I keep my energy nice and high. And I bait him in for this shot I was telling you about, right? But I need more energy here. I need like 500. There's my 500. Now pull up into the vertical. I've got bucket loads of speed. Now he's in an angles fighter. I can't tell whether it's a 33 or a flanker just yet. So I'm going to get back to rate speed here. And I'm going to fight him in a vertical 2 circle. That's my game plan. So there's 400. Now I'm easing through the top here. I don't want to pull too hard unless I see him actually pulling for a shot. Now see, I see top of jet there. I'm not worried about defending until I see intakes. And if I start to see bottom of jet, it's too late. So that's judging aspect, head-on aspect in terms of whether he's flying lag, pure or lead on me. And that informs how I fly my airplane. So see, I start to see bottom of jet, so I pull into pure vertical there for a second, just as a gunsy, and that makes it really hard for him to kill me right there. And now I see him bleeding, so I'm going to get back to rate, and now I'm going to start exerting a rate war on him, which is what my airplane's good at, and his airplane isn't so good at. He may pull for a shot. So it looks like a losing cue, but let's just see if I can slowly etch my angles back out and get offensive here. I need about 440 to actually be in the happy place, but he's in the control zone right now. He's back there at about, I want to say, 25 to 3,000 feet. And now I'm going to really start singing here on rate. You can see I'm seeing like his jet basically goes narrow. Should start seeing rounds very soon. Yeah, he's hit me. Fuck. So I've just talked for the last 2 hours for nothing. Let's run.
Altitude. Altitude. Pull up. Pull up. Altitude. Altitude.
Just stop talking now and just kill this bastard.
Altitude. Altitude. Altitude.
Departing.
That's me out.
Good foot.
Altitude. Altitude.
No. The best, are you ready? Okay, let's go. Range B, I'll take red. Alright, so the Mirage 2000 is a one circle fighter. And this is going to be a tough fight because this dude knows what he's doing. But again, don't fight the man, fight the machine. You have to reconnect, no worries. So anyway, what I was saying, chat, remember about merge plans. May come into a merge like this, and then roll this way and pull this into a completely different patch of sky. And a guy who wasn't watching me right after we merge is going to miss that, and he's probably going to go blind. Because he's expecting to see me out there to the south, and instead I've gone north, and I've gone high. So concealing your intentions at the merge can be pretty handy. I'm sure there are other questions. Let me just scroll up and see who asked what. Guys thinking with a gun, easiest to exploit. Yep. And Or2 said, say your opponent ends up hitting the deck, he's gaining on you slowly and surely in the rate fight. What exactly are your options at that point? If you... Okay, that's a really good question, Or2. Scare Bus Driver, thank you very much for the follow. So Or2, with regards to that, remember, an early decision to leave is the best decision. So if you... And that basically comes down to which of us is in the rate fighter. Say you're fighting an F-15 and you're in a Mirage, he's definitely in the rate fighter. He's in the two-circle fighter. So like I said before, if I end up on the deck, you know, deck transition, and I'm at 370 in my Mirage, which is around about two-circle speed, max sustained turn rate speed, but I know I'm fighting an Eagle, even if I started out with angles, I know that very, very quickly I'm not going to have the angles anymore because he's going to be raiding around on me. And the longer I stay in the fight, the worse it gets. And because the deck's right there, and I'm fighting the Eagle who has access to a lot of instantaneous alpha if he wants to alpha spike, you know, go for a hard pull and just boom, you know, put on like 30-40 alpha instantaneously. I don't want to be in that fight with him. So like I say, deck transition into two-circle with an Eagle, identify it's a rate war, it's a two-circle fight, and leave. So as soon as we pass each other neutral like this, I know he has to turn around through another full 180 degrees before he can pursue me. Meanwhile, I'm dumping my nose, I'm bunting through 0G, and I'm accelerating out to 600 knots, and then I'm making a good hard recommit. I know I'm out at the shoulder, he's back here, and well, I'm here, sorry, and he's on the shoulder, and I'm articulating back on him and getting all those angles back for a neutral merge again. I'm pressuring with the nose as well, so does that make sense? Alright, the best wants to try Viper. Yeah, let's go with that. Alright, so these are good fights. Viper is always a fun time. Okay, ready? Briefing fight. That's funny. I'm not a professor, I've just been doing this for a while, that's all. Alright, so level, two circle, you see him go nose low there. And And this is where keeping tally is important. You can't fight what you can't see, and I want to keep my jet in a good rate war regime, so around 440 to 480. I've got some angles here in this 2-circle. I'm actually going to redefine now into vertical 2-circle, because typically vertical 2-circle is a fight that not many people are comfortable in, and you'll see they redefine into oblique or into level 2-circle again. But getting good at vertical 2-circle is a really good weapon to have up here, obviously. A lot of people don't like fighting with vertical. See me ease and bunt. See me bunting to get the knots. And now you need to know what are losing cues, what the losing cues look like. So once this 2-circle fight aligns, circles align here, you can begin to gauge whether you're winning or losing. But what happens is when the circles aren't aligned, i.e. circles aren't overlapping with each other, you may be tempted to pull when you don't actually need to. Now he went for a pull there. I'm actually going to bleed all the way back to 300 knots here and then go from 400 knots through the bottom. And you can see that's gotten me some offensive angles there. Not many, but just a little bit. And now I'm back in the level 2 circle on the deck, back to 440. So this idea of knowing the fight you're in and knowing how to max perform in that regime is super important when you're fighting a guy who knows what he's doing. These are winning cues for us now. See how we're getting in behind him here? But we're keeping energy nice and high. And this is where you need to spend some time knowing whether what you're seeing is actually a winning cue or a misaligned 2-circle fight. In which case you can't really start pulling or getting too greedy because the circles aren't telling you what's actually happening. Now see how the Viper now wants to get fast. So you can either stay in blower and roll off the bank into vertical a little bit, get that speed off, because it's really hard once you start getting above 500 knots to fight through that straw, and it also widens your circle out and means you're not actually flying as competitively as you want. So I'm going to underbank here, I'm going to bank off into the vertical, get some speed off. See how if I get fast, I give him angles, right? So we had really good angles, and then by allowing the speed to blow out, we give him angles back. So you want to be careful about getting too fast in 2-circle fight. Now I know he's having the same problems as I am, but what I've done through the bottom there is I went idle boards, I bled off a bunch of speed. Now here I want to stay around 300. Now this is a roller, so lift vector placement is important here. I want to have lift vector up and behind him, get up and out of the way of this. Lift vector up and behind him, height 6 here, right? And what's going to happen if I take this into scissors, get this nose up, I think he's got the energy to get above me here. I'm going to stay committed to this vertical. There you can see vertical displacement equals time for a shot. So you saw me take an offset there to negate that, and now I think he's exiting that fight. So now I get my nose pointed back down, and that's OODA leap flying. So one of us, i.e. him, has made an early decision and acted upon it, and therefore seizes initiative in the fight. Hey, type 2 diabetic, thank you for following the watching. I'm going to redefine it to vertical 2-circle here once I get my 400. So good hard pull up here. Offset, offset, offset. So don't forget, I'm not fighting a noob here. This is a good pilot. Nice bleed by him. Holy shit, he hit me there. Oh, am I out of fuel? I'm out of fuel. Oh, he hit me. So the Viper gun doesn't work once you're out of gas. So, great fight. Good fight. I'm going to take a Hornet now, the best. Do you want to actually, for demo's sake, the best, can you take a Viper? Let's go Viper Hornet. I want to demo that fight to the chat. I won't pull the paddle. No paddle, no spin override, Hornet versus Viper. So these are two very, very different fighters for guys who aren't familiar. I'm in a 1-circle fighter and he's in a 2-circle fighter. So he's going to be trying to exercise a rate plan unless he gets extremely creative and tries to surprise me with a 1-circle at some point, but I'll identify that for you guys when I see it. Give me free angles at the merge, I'll take them. Aiming for high 6 here. Take care of that speed, so I'm idle boards at the moment so I don't get too fast. And now taking away his vertical turning room because I know once he misses this shot, I get to generate a bunch load of angles through the vertical here by lead turning him in the vertical. See that? See how I didn't actually fly up to the zenith of where he was? I actually started going back down early, and that gets me angles. That's called a lead turn. And now see the angles I've got here? I'm completely offensive thanks to that. This is no paddle, no spin override. This is a normal Hornet right now. Limited to 7.5 G, although it is showing that we hit a maximum of 9.1 there at some point. Now I'm going to actually do turn circle entry, so I actually fly lag BFM here. See that? I don't pull lead, I don't pull pure for a shot because I don't want to get overshot. I want to maintain, I want to preserve the offensive advantage. So you see, my nose is pointed behind him, and now into a rate wall with him, and preserving my offensive advantage, going into a deck transition at rate speed for the Hornet, which is about 360 to 370. Now up into the vertical, good hard pull. I'm in the control zone now, 2,200 feet. He's in a lot of trouble here unless he can separate. So he will try to run. I need to try and kill him. Some hits there. Because he will outrun me when he puts his foot down. And he may try and force an overshoot here, so you can see wherever he puts his lift vector, I'm putting my lift vector in the opposite sense until I can wash off whatever excess speed I've got so I don't overshoot. See this? I'm just going to again get rid of the excess airspeed. Take that extra energy upstairs. I think he's going to hit the deck there. He's done. Good fight. You want to try one more? Yeah, we can try one more. Yeah, I'll take the Hornet again. Briefing fly. Alright, so I'll talk through what's happening again here for you guys. He is in a Viper, so if he wants to win, he has to be very disciplined with the type of fight that he fights here. Because if he tries to go one circle, flat scissors, or in a roller with me, once he gets slow below 200 knots, he's not going to have the same ability to move the nose as I've got. So the guy in the Viper is really trying to get a fleeting snapshot or a shot in the face. And if I can tie him up in a nice tight fight, I deprive him of the turning room he needs to achieve that. And what he's going to be doing a lot of is running away so that he can get out past the elbow and articulate back on the shoulder, which is where he hopes I am. And my job is to try and get into his control zone within that 3,000 foot wedge behind his aeroplane and then just exert dominance. See him bleeding in the vertical here, and he rolls out of that because he sees me pulling lead. Minus 60 knots VC. It's always good to come into the bottom right of the HUD there. You see 90 knots minus 90 knots VC, 2,500 feet, and just keep an eye on what he's actually doing. Whether you've got an overtake, you see we've got a pretty solid overtake on there. Pull out a plane here for a bit. So I get overshot. And you saw me stay committed to the vertical for a little bit of asymmetric thrust, and then roll out a plane to try and flush him, and he's carrying his excess airspeed up into the vertical, trying to bleed me. And now I think he's going to unload and exit the fight here. (3,500 feet, minus 30 knots VC, 3,400, working our way into this wedge here, into the control zone, minus 110 knots now he's running.
Thanks.
Hey, Hulk, thank you for the biddies there, buddy. And yeah, I do air to ground. I fly Liberation on Syria in Harriers. And I'm also in the process of flying the Raven 1 campaign at the moment. And I'm on mission number 7 in that, which I stream mostly during daytime hours. The Liberation always usually 20Z. Except tonight was purely a BFM stream. You can see me putting my lift vector behind him here. But he is doing some nice work here. I'm going to actually go up and out of this. Thank you for the bits, man. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. So we're getting slow here now. I need to just take an offset because he will bring that nose back down, and I want to be out of the way of it when it does come back down. So we're taking an offset to the right. It means he has to actually move his nose further to get lead on me to shoot me. See that? So if you actually stay with your lift vector pointed at him there, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're making the amount of distance he has to move his nose less. We're back in rate war here. Fuel is 2.5. Putting up a great fight here, and this is, in theory, the Viper should dominate the Hornet in DCS in a 2-circle on a deck like this, but it doesn't actually do it. The Hornet rates just as well as the Viper in DCS. At the moment, we don't know why. We don't know if it's because the Hornet has too much thrust or not enough drag, but it outperforms the Viper in rate, even without the paddle. And if I use the paddle, it would just become absolutely disgusting. I'm hoping he tries to get me into a slow fight here. That's the fight that I'm going to win. Just missed him there. flat scissors here into the roller. See, I said all the work gets done over the top in the roller. Nearly a Fox 4 there. Command guided missile, every Air Force in the world owns one. Fox 4 is where you use your airplane to kill your opponent. Now, see that? He's taking an escape window. So he knew I was hung up in my straps, pointed skywards. Meanwhile, he can use that time to get his nose down, get the energy back. Fighting a really good fight this time. Took a hit there. Hey, oh, thank you for the sub there, dude. Welcome to the channel. So minus 210 knots that he is running, and this wobble the Hornet gets, we don't know if that's a real thing or not. If anybody has any experience with the actual Hornet, do let us know whether that's a thing or whether the flight control system dampens that out. I would have thought that would have been a pretty undesirable flight characteristic to have in the middle of a dogfight. But, yeah, that's close. This is one hell of a fight. It's getting pretty dynamic here. Thank you for the gift subs. I'll check that in just a second. Oh, I'm gonna get hit. Oh god, that is some really good flying by him there. Yeah. Awesome, dude. Really good fight. Thank you for the gift subs. You totally threw me. Mr. Sid. Yeah, shrimp sauce like it okay. Welcome to the channel. Totally fucked it up. But I love it. Cheers, dude. You like the Viper?
Fucking got a kill! Holy shit!
Very, really good. Hey, the best. Let's try the Viper again. Viper. Thank you so much for getting behind the channel. I really appreciate that. You said your dad was a fan of the Viper. Nice. Alright, here we go. One circles me off the merge. Some aggressive flying here. 300. Bait him in for a shot. Lead turned him into vertical. Is he bleeding? I think he's bleeding. Get my energy back up through the bottom here. Bait him in, look predictable. Now out of plane to pull. Into the two-circle fight. Going to bait him in here. Lift vector on. Up. I'm slow. I'm gonna get stuck up here in a second if I'm not careful. daft. And now I'm gonna pay. Now I need to get out of this shit. Got him there, he's got some angles. Get back on the pool here. Just a touch more itchy than me. Come on. We're both hanging. Oh, I'm trying to break out the top. Can I get it back down? Hey, Bram TV, thank you for the follow, dude. Welcome to the channel. Crazy Viper fight, I think. He doesn't have the same energy state as me. Is he hanging there? I think he's departed control flight. Looks like he's departed control flight. What the fuck? Like a UFO. You know what we do to UFOs, don't you?
Hey, Lobo, you're disconnected, mate.
Oh, I've disconnected.
Yeah, mate.
Alright, that's weird. I'm coming back in. Yeah, you were just hanging there. I thought it was a problem with you. It's super weird. I just DC mid-fight like that. Cheers everyone. Hope you're enjoying the fights here. The best. You want to go again? Vipers again? Yeah, sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened there. So you see me go list 2, that brings up the fuel on the DED, and then there's a DED to HUD switch there, which puts the total fuel remaining in the bottom of the HUD, which is kind of handy. Bring up the HMD, and then TMS forward short gives me the ellipse, which is what I use to line him up. So into a 2 circle, see him get that nose down. Whenever a guy goes into a descending spiral like that, generally you want to come down with him, because what he's doing is he's trying to cut across the circle. He's trying, like remember I spoke about the lemon wedge? He's trying to generate geometry advantage by cutting a corner on the circle there. Now I'm pretty slow through the bottom of this. I need to be careful here, I'm probably going to get shot. Now, the best...
How do I get the F-18 in dogfight mode?
Yeah, just select guns and then use sensor select to cycle through the modes. So into 2 circle here. He's got the advantage in this. I'm leaving this fight right now. So he'd be still on the pull there while I unload and accelerate, so I get to separate a little bit from him. You see him take an offset there? That's an opportunity to generate angles. So you can see I get some angles back as the hand I articulate back on the shoulder. It's not as much as I would have wanted, but it's something. Now the question is, can I fight a good rate fight here and get some more angles back? Or is he going to be on top of his rate war game? Now I've got enough altitude to be able to use that altitude to generate some geometry of my own, and now we end up in what's looking like a respectable fight. He's pulling for a shot. Crazy. Crazy that he pulled so hard in the vertical like that, or over the top like that to generate that. That was very nicely done. So you can see this is what experienced pilots will do. They understand the OODA loop, and they understand the advantage to be gained by making a decision of their own and enacting that before you do it to them. We take away the vertical turning room from him there, and we end up in this this roller. See me try to claw back a bit of energy through the bottom of the roller, and you see me keeping that spike on my head, positioned slightly behind his aircraft, until I want to get creative and maybe turn it into a scissors like this. Grab a bunch of knots. Now back into a roller, so lift back just behind him. And then same again through the bottom here. Grab some knots. Okay, that's a good hard pull by him. Get up and over this. Reverse 9 to scissors. Save. So while you're fighting the deck, you're not fighting the bandit, so you can see he gets the upper hand in the scissors there.
Good kill, man, good kill.
So, the terrain's definitely making this interesting.
I actually got to the point where I was scraping my ring on the ground.
Oh shit, dude, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die here. Just turn, take offsets. Get out playing with him. Fuck. Oh my god, dude, this is fucking intense. Okay. 600 pounds of fuel. Yeah, it's fixed, Rum Runner. It's totally fixed. Almost out of gas. There's my last 140 pounds. Out of fuel. gas. Yeah, you had it in the cart and you couldn't pull the trigger on it. The grip or the base, Ramona? I mean, if your water grip's in good condition and there's no movement in it, you can definitely buy yourself some time there. But now that let me just show you real quick. I'll pull this up and great fight. Let me just jump in here for a second, and I'm going to show you the actual app real quick, and it should be totally censored, because what happened was they said to me, hey, go and update your firmware and update the software version,